Welcome to the Building Doors Podcast, where we're not just pushing for opportunities for women's voices to be heard, we're creating them. I'm Christy Harst, voiceover actor and creator of the Building Doors campaign. Join us as we amplify voices, break barriers, and build doors together.
Hi, I'm Isabella Flores, and I'm a door builder in the Building Doors campaign. So what led me to voiceover? I grew up dancing. I started when I was 2 years old, and I danced my whole childhood through high school and eventually in university. But I grew up doing ballet, modern, contemporary, musical theater, all the things. I was just a performer. I had to perform, and my parents recognized that very early on and were like, we need to get her in some classes. So yeah, eventually I went to university for it. I got my BFA in dance, and then I moved to New York City, and performed in some off-Broadway showcases, some short plays. And when I moved to New York, I actually ended up being kind of inadvertently connected to a few voice actors. And then one day I went to this seminar that was for actors. I think it was about how to find your own work as an actor. And one of the sponsors for that was the VO Dojo and Tish Hicks. They had a raffle to win, I think, a course or something through the dojo. So I entered for that. I didn't win the raffle, but I did get a call from them the next week. They were just, trying to gauge my interest in voiceover in general. And, they were like, what's your connection to voiceover right now? And I kind of said what I've just said of I know a few people. And she's like, oh, so you're voiceover adjacent. And I was like, yeah, I guess I am voiceover adjacent. So I ended up being interested, and I took their 6-week intro intensive where, we got to explore different genres in voiceover, and it just clicked. I felt like I could do this. It just felt right. Growing up as a dancer, the culture, not even necessarily from the teachers for the most part, but just, and I'm sure it's different now, but there's kind of a culture that encourages self-criticism. So I never really believed that I was that good at what I did, whether it was dance or in acting, regardless of, how many friends or family members were like, you're really good or whatever, it didn't really convince me. And that was just, a mental block. But when I took that 6-week intensive, I still remember I just had moments where I'd be reading a spot or reading whatever copy we had, and out of the blue I would just be like, I think I'm good at this, which was not a thought I was used to having spontaneously. It sounds kind of sad, but it's not sad. It's just a growth thing. So I was so unfamiliar with that feeling, and that kind of just instinctual, I think I might be good at this. That really kind of confirmed my gut feeling that this is what I was meant to do. And at the end of that intensive, I talked to Tish, and she was like, I'm not blowing smoke when I say that I think you could really do this as a career. So that was definitely encouraging. So before I kind of transitioned into VO, I worked in all aspects of early childhood focused jobs. My first job, aside from babysitting, nannying, was as a ballet teacher, and I taught the 2-year-olds, which was, honestly, people don't think you can teach ballet to 2-year-olds. You absolutely can. They are great listeners and so fun, and they can pick it up. They've got this. My first year with the 2-year-olds, we made a dance to the song Banana Phone by Raffle. It is a classic. If you don't know it, look it up. Excellent song. Yeah, I love teaching ballet. And I also was a preschool assistant. I worked as a behavioral interventionist for kids on the autism spectrum at the preschool level. I babysat, I nannied. Any way to work with kids was it was the best. When I moved to New York, I was nannying and babysitting again, and I worked at a My Gym, the children's fitness center, so a lot of teaching babies how to do somersaults. And so I've never really had, a traditional desk job or corporate career. It's always been kind of freelance, which was honestly really helpful when I was getting started in voiceover because my schedule was so much more flexible than if it was a traditional career. So what was my first big break? I don't know if I had one big break. I feel like there's a lot, in general, I think, in this kind of career, you maybe have a lot of big breaks or just breakthroughs or just moments that really can encourage you to keep going. I had a few. My first year working in VO, I was just on the pay-to-play sites, and I booked a job for National Geographic Kids. And when I first booked it, I didn't know the specifics, really. I just knew it's about finding germs in your home and in your classroom. And I was like, that's so cool. And then when I was talking to the client leading up to the session, I got an email with the video, and it had a scratch track, and they were like, just so you know what it's going to look like. And that was when I found out that I was going to be the voice of a cat in a lab coat. And just right then I was like, oh, I've peaked. I think I've peaked. This is the best job I have ever had and will ever have. I'm a cat. So that was a big win for me. I was so excited. But then also when I eventually did get representation, huge moment for me was when I found out I was going to be one of the new voices for Kohl's, the department store. I honestly was kind of in shock. When I first saw the email, I walked out to my roommate and I was like, I just got an email that I'm gonna be a voice for Kohl's. That was an amazing opportunity. I loved working with that team. We worked together for 2 years, basically at least once a week, sometimes more. And it was the same team every time. I just had the best time working with them. So that was a huge moment for me and very encouraging and so much fun. And then this year, getting to join the Building Doors campaign was a big break, I would say, just in terms of being so excited to help the industry progress, to include more women. Especially now, I think it's so important to have something like this that Christy started, where we're encouraging companies to consider women where they might have traditionally only thought about using a male voice, and, to get women in the door to build these doors for women to walk through. I think it's just so important right now, and I feel very lucky to be a part of this movement. So I work in a lot of genres. I do commercial, I do explainer videos, I love to do K-12, e-learning, educational media, that kind of stuff. PSAs are also fun to do. What I love about working in any genre, really, in voiceover, really, is just variety. It's always different. It's always a different product that you're selling or, lesson that you're teaching. And not only that, it's always a different story that you're telling. So you get to use all different aspects of yourself. It's never going to be the same thing, which, variety is the spice of life, right? So that just is a really great thing for me. Who are my dream clients or brands that I'd love to voice for? I don't really have a specific one in mind. I would love to do tech spot. I feel like they could use more young female voices in the tech sphere. I would love to hear it. Same with promos and trailers. I was in a promo and trailer class fairly recently, and the person teaching it was saying that he noticed that if there's a movie that's had a trailer out that a woman did the trailer for, if another trailer is coming out for that movie, the clients will be like, well, we already had a woman do a trailer, so we need to use a man this time. But if it's vice versa, if a man has voiced a trailer for this movie, they're not going to say, well, we can't look for a man for this one. So the double standard, it's not that it's on purpose at all. It's just, the internal bias of, well, if we hear too many women, it's going to turn into a woman thing. That's just not true. But if you keep perpetuating that, it's just self-fulfilling. I would love to voice spots for any ethical brands that promote transparency, sustainability, and also brands that support women and minorities and marginalized groups. I just would love to lend my voice to anything where I can make a positive change in the world. I feel like that's so important to do. If I could be the voice of any major campaign, it's not so much a campaign, but I would love to be the promo voice for any kids TV network like Nickelodeon, Disney, etc. That would be a dream. I would love to do kids TV promo. It would be incredible. In terms of what qualities make my voice stand out, mainly, honestly, I would have to say relatability. I just am very conversational. One of my regular clients once gave me a direction to try a very high energy read that was kind of almost ridiculously big. She said something like, your reads always feel natural, so no matter how big you go, you can never not sound conversational, which felt like such high praise to be like, yeah, you can be as big as you want. You're never going to sound fake. You're going to sound like yourself, and people are going to believe you. That's my goal. Is I try to connect with scripts in a way that, I am interested in what I'm reading and I mean what I'm saying, because that's the only way really that you can connect with your audience. It's not so much how your voice sounds, it's how you feel, how you make the audience feel or the listener feel, because that's really the connection. They're not going to believe in the product or whatever you're talking about unless you believe in it and you connect. So it's always very reassuring when that comes through to the clients that I'm working with. There was one time when I booked a couple TV spots for Amazon Business, which was very cool. And after we had finished our session, I got a call from my manager saying that they actually want to do more work with me. They were like, let's do our radio spots with her. Why not? She was good in the TV spots. Why would we get a new voice? Which really made me feel great knowing that they trusted me with the whole campaign and not just part of it. That was really great feedback to get. Anytime that a client is like, we're so glad that we have you, it's such a great thing to hear. It just feels so good. Something unique about me that influences my VO style, I would say, is I think my dance training in a interesting way did help me in the voiceover world. Not that I'm dancing around my tiny booth by any means, but the fact that in dance you have to be so in tune and aware of your body and that kind of thing, it definitely helps you to embody whatever you're talking about. It's not just talking, you're living it. So in that way, that I feel like has really helped me in this career. One fun fact that people might not expect is I was a mascot during the Olympics. When the Olympics came to Vancouver, which is where I'm originally from, I got to be one of the Olympic mascots when they did the torch run through my town, which was very fun. I don't know if you remember the mascots from the Vancouver Olympics. They were very interesting. There was a whale bear. There was a Sasquatch. The Paralympics mascot was, I think, part whale, part bird, part black bear. And then they had a sidekick named Muck Muck, who was a little marmot. And I got to be Miga, the whale/spirit bear. And it was so much fun. It was just standing in your mascot outfit, taking pictures with anyone who was at the torch run. It was the best time. My friend got to dress up as Quatchy, the Sasquatch. He had a little less fun because I think the costume was a little more cumbersome and heavy on his shoulders. I was having the time of my life. If my voice was a brand, I think it would be known for just being really welcoming, I think. A friend of mine once told me something like, you have this ability to make whoever you talk to feel comfortable exactly as they are. And that really meant a lot to me because that's honestly all I aim to bring to every interaction. I always want whoever I'm talking to feel comfortable and to feel welcomed and not at all self-conscious. That's always my goal. And there's also usually a little wryness that comes through as well. Another friend of mine recently described my humor as benign sarcasm or victimless snark. And I actually, early on when I was still training, a coach said that my essence was sarcastically wholesome. I think I just have like a general playfulness in the way that I speak to people. I never want to be funny at the expense of whoever I'm talking to, but I can't help being a little bit quick and dry in my humor, which is it's just who I am, you know? Thanks for checking out my Building Doors podcast episode and for your support of the campaign. If you'd like to work together, you can email me at isabella@isabellamflores.com and visit my website at isabellamflores.com to hear more of my work.
Thanks for listening to the Building Doors podcast. Want to hear more? Check out all our episodes at buildingdoorsvo.com/podcast and follow us on Instagram and LinkedIn at buildingdoorsvo. We'd love to hear from you, so call us on our 24/7 hotline at 216-307-1917 and leave us a voicemail with your thoughts. Do you want to support the podcast? Well, we love coffee. Buy us a cup through the link in the description or at buildingdoorsvo.com. Until next time, keep pushing forward, keep speaking up, and let's keep building doors together.